to the drugstore and get some condoms. All of you men running around here talking about, I'm a chauffeur, I'm a chauffeur. Yeah, you are. You driving yourself right to paternity court. If you think because you don't finish that you can't get a girl pregnant.
Mr. Wiggins says he cannot be the father of little Aubrey and says today's result will end years of frustration and heartache in his life. Little does he know how psycho things are about to get. Here is how he puts it.
As a result of being alleged the father of Aubrey, I lost my wife and I want to regain my family.
You lost your family? You were married at the time? Explain.
Yes, Your Honor, I was married and me and my wife went through a separation due to a rough patch. Due to my separation, you know.
Yeah, you were married, but that did not stop you from going after her anyway, did it? So it cannot be that your marriage would stop you from dating when it did not even stop you from cheating. Here is what Ms. Davis thinks about that.
You did?
2.5 years we was together.
I was telling her what I felt I needed to tell her to ultimately get what I wanted.
Obviously,
you might have gotten more than you bargained for, right?
He did, a child.
And so why did you think you were in a relationship, Ms. Davis?
He stated that multiple times.
Was he telling you there was going to be a future?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggins looks all cool and responsible and innocent, but this is one crazy dude. Getting your mistress and your wife pregnant at the same time is nasty work. What did he think was going to happen when he slept with both of them without protection? And it gets even worse.
And of course, because she wanted my wife out of the picture, because she did want more.
You're right. I wanted more because that's what you presented.
And I was good to her. I mean, because ultimately I was trying to get something out of her. So I did what I had to do. I felt I needed to do.
Like 2.5 years, how we're not together?
Things happen or said in the bedroom that may not always be.
Oh, that was what caused a lot of havoc in your life. Not the sleeping around and getting your mistress pregnant before getting your wife pregnant literally 2 months later? That was the great havoc causer? Well, prepare to be entertained because this show gets crazier.
We went to a room and we had fun. He, on the other hand, decides that he wants to go through my phone and he found a little statement about me and the guy talking.
No, it's much more than that, Your Honor. Let's back it up a little. Yes, we did intend to plan Valentine's Day together. However, prior to us going to the hotel.
Wait, how are you cheating on your wife with another woman but trying to get offended when she messes with other dudes? What is happening here? Is this dude serious? Anyway, let us hear about his doubts.
I think more so the birth certificate. You know, I was at the hospital.
You were?
I were. Not when the birth certificate was signed. Your Honor, this is the birth date that's listed on Aubrey's birth certificate. My birthday is November the 9th, 1990.
The one you wrote.
This says 11/11/1990. I didn't write anything. And also in the state of Florida.
So his claim is that Ms. Davis got his name on the birth certificate deceptively, and so that means he isn't the father? Really? Even if that happened, that wouldn't mean anything. And here is the kicker. Ms. Davis says this is just a bunch of lies anyway.
So it is your belief that someone put your name on there and then got your birth date wrong, put it on there as well, that they wrote it in?
Absolutely.
Acknowledgement of any kind?
I wasn't there, Your Honor.
Yes, you were.
It was a phone call asking for my information.
What information were they asking you for? Your name and your birthday?
My date of birth, my social, where I was born.
You know what this sounds like? It sounds like Mr. Wiggins was indeed there, but wrote a wrong date of birth so that he can later dispute the paternity of the kid. That seems like the sort of slick thing this dude would do. Anyway, it gets better.
Because when I seen it, when we got the birth certificate, I let him know that whatever he signed it wrong. He was supposed to go get, that's all you asked for, was a baby. Was another baby.
I had 2 children,
another
Your
baby.
Honor. I didn't need any more children.
He wanted me
any more children.
because of my body, and he wanted a baby from me.
That is all I wanted.
Yes.
That is crazy on 2 counts. Mr. Wiggins is insane for doing that, and Ms. Davis is crazy for believing him. How can you believe a married man who has 2 babies already and says he wants 1 more from you? He is obviously lying.
Why does he want to give his wife back?
I have no idea. I mean,
because
from my
it was just a sex that
it was never a sex thing. 2.5 years, I don't understand.
What I'm saying is, how did this all go wrong?
I went back to my wife. That's how it all went wrong. Along with Miss Davis not being able to be with one person.
He went back to his wife when he found out about the Facebook.
This is the most psycho dude I have ever seen on paternity court. The crazy thing is, you would never guess he was this psycho if you met him in public. You are likely to just think he is some average dude. No, he is insane. Anyway, this means Ms. Davis would not still be intimate with Mr. Wiggins, right?
Are you all still involved?
No, we're not, Your Honor. No, we're not, Your Honor.
At the same time, 2 different answers.
Right.
Exact same time.
When was the last time you 2 were intimate?
It's been a while.
Last night.
No, Your Honor, we was at separate hotels.
Yeah, there is like a 100% chance this dude is lying. But who knows? If the child turns out not to be his, maybe he would have been saying the truth all along, right? Maybe. Just maybe. Anyway, here is what the DNA test has to say about this crazy case.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows. In the case of Wiggins versus Davis, when it comes to 23-month-old Aubrey Wiggins, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Wiggins, you are the father.
Mr. Webb says he has never ever been intimate with Ms. Tasha Cole, so there is no way that he could be the father of her baby. Ms. Cole says her name is Tasha, not Mary, so that is impossible. Here is how it begins.
I never had sex with her, Your Honor.
Well, that would rule you out. You've never had sex with her?
No.
Yeah, he did.
She's a liar. She's crazy.
Ms. Cole, we've heard a lot of defenses in this courtroom. Rarely have we ever heard that.
Well, like Judge Lake says, this is a really new one. She says she can remember one night of insane passion, and he says she is an insane liar. Who is telling the truth here? Let's shed more light on this.
Sex or anything, we were just friends. We would chill out, that was it.
You were never intimate with her in any way?
I never stayed in her bedroom. I stayed out on the couch.
That's a lie.
And on top of that, I was only there for a week and a week and a half.
That's a lie.
Ms. Cole, all right, take me back to the night you believe.
Wah. Hold on with the screaming woman. You don't have to scream so loudly to make your voice heard. The courtroom is not that large. Please don't have a psycho breakdown here, lady.
You said you and your husband were taking care of Mr. Webb?
Yes, and my grandkids and anybody else that needed.
You're a liar.
You are a liar.
You are a liar. Everything that you're saying. She was on the phone with me 5-6 times a day.
Why was Mr. Webb living with you?
He's a punk bum.
Okay, Mr. Webb, your story is also looking kind of crazy. You don't just go to someone's house to hang out for a week or two, especially if you are not really close friends. What was really happening? Here is what his girlfriend thinks.
Okay, can we leave it at that, Tasha? It's not my baby. I'm trying to do right in my life and move on. And this is not doing either of us any good. So just do me a favor and stay out of my life in the inbox. At this point, I'm thinking, I feel like she's trying to say that I'm the baby daddy, but not just hinting, not actually saying.
All right.
Okay, so here's the second one.
So they had a party, and for some reason, he didn't leave immediately after the party. He stayed a week after it and ate so much food that Ms. Cole's mom says she had to bring them food. Anyway, let's see what this text says.
Father to your baby, please leave me alone. And that was not it. I just didn't want to deal with her anymore. I still don't.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, okay. She is actually crazy, all right. This is one psycho lady here. Children do not look like people at that stage, Ms. Cole. That is an insane claim, and no one, Mr. Webb, thinks she is out of her mind.
To know for sure he's the dad, because I did have another partner. It was a month prior.
How we find out?
No, I told you there was another possibility, and I told the other possibility there was another.
That you were 100% sure that I was the father. You and your mom said that.
Wait a minute, Miss Cole.
Look, she looks just like him.
That baby's white.
That is exactly what it seems like. Because the evidence Mr. Webb has produced actually kind of makes Ms. Cole look a bit crazy. So is there any other possibility? Let's find out.
Sorry, Your Honor. Okay, there was 2 witnesses there that said that they never had sex at the party.
The night that she said that we had sex or whatever, 2 of our friends were there. One of them were her family members, and even he said that.
Okay, that is a bit more convincing. But here is the thing. Doctors are not perfect. They make mistakes all the time. How do we know the shifting of the due date isn't a mistake? And importantly, what is even the evidence that Mr. Webb slept with Ms. Davis at all?
Specifics that you can share that would prove your case.
I can tell you how big his winker is. It's pretty small.
No, it's not.
I could tell you plenty of times.
It's about that big.
I've known him for 7 years.
It's about that big.
Okay, wow. Well, we have to listen to him then, don't we? He knows himself, and he is really sure he did not get Ms. Cole pregnant. Let's find out what the DNA test results say and get to the end of this mystery.
Jerome?
Here you go, Your Honor.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows. In the case of Webb versus Cole, when it comes to 6-month-old Majestic Cole, it has been determined by this court.
Ms. Cole says she has been a naughty girl and has been with several other men, but that does not matter, she says, because Mr. Gilbert here is the father of her unborn child. Mr. Gilbert says that is just a load of rubbish. Here is how that starts out.
Mrs. Cole and her daughter are constantly lying. We don't know the truth from fiction anymore. I'd like to just find out where we stand on this whole situation. Everything that comes out of their mouths is lies.
So you believe the baby she's carrying is not your son's child?
Absolutely. At this point in time.
Okay, hold up. Wait a minute. No bias here. But why does Mr. Gilbert look like a mix between a school child caught peeing his pants and the pre-mustache figure of a very important German dude who came to power in the 1930s? That is just weird. Anyway, let us see what he has to say.
Did you have sex with Miss Cole?
Yes, Your Honor.
You did. Was it unprotected sex?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Cole, what was the nature of this relationship with Mr. Gilbert?
We went to school together. We were best friends in school, and...
Why is he looking like that? Seriously? This dude creeps me out. Anyway, testimony is that they both got it in and out of their system twice in one day, and then it never happened again. Anyway, here is what happened when Mr. Adolf Gilbert found out that he was going to have a baby.
Would you be in the baby's life if you knew it was yours? And then you wrote back, yay.
No, yeah, why? There's supposed to be a space there.
Oh, yeah, why? So you, oh, I get it. It's not yay.
Yeah.
It's yeah, why? And then she says, because I am.
Yeah, oh boy is the right expression. It does not seem in those texts that he really had any doubts. It just looked like he did not want to have a child, period. Anyway, this gig gets better quickly. So are there any other options here?
Other daughter, Tasha, was in the background yelling, he's not the only option, he's not the only option. It may be somebody else's, it may be somebody else's. And I'm going, really?
That's not true.
You
were
can hear
at
her.
my
Hold on
house
one second, Ms. Cole. I'm going to get to you. You were on the phone and you say you overheard this?
Well, at least we have got that out of the way. There is at least one more possibility here, and Mr. Gilbert may get off the hook. But it is never that straightforward in paternity court, because that other possibility has a tiny problem.
Your Honor, he's fixed, and he did not complete.
So you're saying the other potential father, you've found out since that he's had a vasectomy, or he had a vasectomy?
He had.
But that's just his word. He's never given any evidence that he's...
Okay, first of all, gross. Second of all, old enough to be my father is not a real age. But it is real enough to tell us that the age gap is probably even bigger than one between father and daughter. Try maybe grandpa and daughter. Would this dude even be able to get her pregnant? And it gets better.
It's yours. You write back, I don't. Miss Cole write, the other guy is fit. You write back, so he says. And if you believe that, you wouldn't have lied to me. Cole writes back, do you want to be in this baby's life? And then you write.
That was actually good work, Mr. Gilbert. Good for you. You'd think this case is just between Mr. Gilbert and Ms. Cole, but you'd be wrong, because their mothers have a huge argument brewing. Here is what that looks like.
Lies that she had told him, and it's been nothing but lies out of her mouth. And that's what we have constantly gotten from not but one of you, but two of you. You don't find out the truth about what's going on in a conversation between your daughter and I, and you roll over.
It seems like there is a lot of bad blood between these two. But let us get back to the question of paternity. Is there any other evidence we need to see? Well, let's see, because this twist is insane.
Why do I have evidence right here? The day they went to take the paternity test, this says your daughter is praying that it is my son's. That she doesn't know for sure.
Wait, what do you have?
Right here, Your Honor.
Please hand me that evidence.
See this?
She is praying that it is.
Wait.
I want it to be his so bad.
And you know what? She is absolutely correct. People lie and make up stories all the time. That is exactly why paternity court exists, and that is why this court will read the one result that never lies, the DNA test results.
Father?
No doubt.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In order for us to determine paternity, prenatal DNA test was performed. A blood sample was drawn from the mother and...
Mr. Patrick says a stranger that he offered a place to stay betrayed him and slept with his girlfriend behind his back. Ms. Pence says that she is 1,000,000% her fraternal kids are his, but she strangely says nothing about the stranger's claim. Let's find out more.
We befriended him, let him move into our home. He offered to help pay the bills and stuff.
So you basically took in a person that was going to rent a room?
Yeah, basically, yes.
Okay.
Well, he stayed maybe 5 or 6 days, and he up and moved out. I questioned her. I said, wonder why he just upped and left. Is it because me and you argue a lot?
Okay.
You know, time goes on. Me and her sat around and had a few drinks.
Oh, We know what happens when that happens, don't we? Your girlfriend is gone all night, and she comes back looking like she was in a hurricane, and from the neighbor's house too? That is basically nightmare fuel for men, and Mr. Patrick lived it. Hold on, it gets even more psychotic.
The gentleman that had been staying with us, it was just the one time. It never happened again after that, and he still seems to believe that it happened more than the one time, Your Honor.
So you hadn't slept with him when he was actually living there?
No, Your Honor.
Wait, did you go looking for him or did you run into him?
I kind of went looking for him. Larry had continuously, from day one, accused me of...
Yeah, darling, she's from the South, and where she comes from, these things are just normal. It is part of the lifestyle, you know. You have got to flirt with the boys and the girls and sometimes strangers who your husband allowed into your home. Anyway, Ms. Pence is certain about one thing.
With anyone before that, never. You constantly accused me of it, and I kept telling you, you're going to keep pushing, and it's going to happen. That night it happened. That was the only time, and it's never happened since then.
Yeah, guys, that is how it works. If your partner continuously accuses you of cheating on him, the best way to help him get over it is by actually cheating on him, conceiving kids around the same period, and then turn up to paternity court and say, I told you so. That ought to teach him, right? So where is the stranger now?
Your Honor, I don't. I've never spoke with the guy after that night.
Never kept in touch with him after that night?
No, Your Honor. I couldn't tell you where he is right now.
I have another question. Why that guy? You say you left the house and you said I went looking for him. And I told him if he kept pushing me and kept saying I was cheating, that it's gonna happen, and it did that night.
Mr. Patrick's head must be on Mars right now. The way she behaved like cheating on her husband was the rational next step for her after getting accused of cheating is crazy. But she has some proof to show that Mr. Patrick is the father of the twins.
Right around the 2nd of November, Your Honor. The twins were born almost completely full term. And if you count those dates back, it only leads to Mr. Patrick. There's no way
Patrick,
possible.
do you agree with those dates? They seem to add up.
No, Your Honor, I don't. I mean, it's a 5-day window between there.
A 5-day window between what?
From the date that she had slept with the other man.
You know for a fact? How can you know something like that for a fact? She says because the doctor gave her a date, but doctors usually only give a window. And since the difference is only 5 days, then it is very possible her twins belong to the stranger. So what does Mr. Patrick think?
This exhibit, and you see on October 29th, if that's the date she had sex with the other gentleman?
That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yes, it is, but it never happened more than the one time.
That you
That's
say.
the only time. I know for it never happened.
So, Mr. Patrick, you believe this happened more than once?
Oh, yeah.
But why shouldn't he believe that? She has shown that she can cheat on him, and if she can do that, who knows how many times she would have done it. Anyway, Mr. Patrick has even bigger doubts.
There's nothing to hide.
And just like I've told her, if it comes to the fact that the kids aren't mine, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to leave.
That's what I'm afraid of, Your Honor.
I mean, if it does come back, which I hope it does come back, that they are my children, it's still going to be hard for me to gain trust for her again. Trust is
so the stakes are high. This is very serious.
Well, now I hope it works out for both of them. But we can only know for sure when we see the DNA test results. The good news is that Judge Lauren Lake has it, and here is what they say.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Patrick versus Pence, when it comes to fraternal twins, 4-year-old Carrie Patrick and Larry Patrick, it has been determined by this court, Patrick, you are the father.
I told you that you was the father.
Ms. Mora wants Mr. Platt to finally acknowledge her daughter as his and sign her birth certificate. Mr. Platt says there is less than 0 chance of that happening because he knows that the child cannot possibly be his. But here is how Ms. Mora puts it.
I've come from a broken family. My dad was never in my life. He's not on my birth certificate either. And my daughter deserves the best, you know what I'm saying? And this is why I'm here today, because I'm gonna make sure that his name is gonna be on that birth certificate.
Because you have no doubt he is the biological father.
There's no doubt in my mind, Your Honor.
But you do have doubt, Mr. Platt.
So she was still living with her ex when she was going on all these walks with Mr. Platt and getting to know him. And she continued living with that ex until she started dating Mr. Platt. The only question now is if she slept with that ex while dating Mr. Platt.
Website, you know what I'm saying? I was with my ex. I explained to Mr. Platt that I was with him. I lived with him. He was like, okay, cool. Like, we're gonna talk, whatever. He agreed to it, you know what I'm saying? And we ended up meeting up. We went for a walk in the park, you know what I'm saying? And from there, like, is it like...
Hold up. She stayed in that house long enough after they started dating that she got pregnant there? That is messed up. Well, at least she told Mr. Platt that she was pregnant first, right?
You moved out of the house with the other guy?
No, I was still living with him. Yes, I was still living with him.
And were you intimate with the other guy and Mr. Platt at the same time?
Not at all, not at all.
Because we get a lot of people that come into this courtroom and say they were broken up so they couldn't get pregnant because they were broken up.
That's why I have the doubt, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does not sound or look like he was cool with it at all. This already sounds tacky and mad suspicious, but at least when Ms. Mora moved out from the house, she stopped talking to her ex, right? Like he obviously did not show up at the hospital when she gave birth, right?
Mr. Platt.
It's because that he was there. He was at the...
Who was?
He was present at the hospital.
He was.
You know what I mean? I wasn't...
Your ex came to the hospital when you had the baby?
Platt, I talked to Mr. Platt the day before I had my daughter. He was thinking that it wasn't his baby. The other guy didn't show up until 7 o'clock that night.
Wait, this is confusing. So this ex is such a great dude that he is willing to step up for his ex's daughter? Am I getting this right, chat? Anyway, Mr. Platt hasn't been on his best behavior either because he has only stepped up for half of the time the girl has been alive. You cannot brag about being there for your infant half the time, and of course it gets worse.
Sometimes she calls me the dad, and then sometimes
she calls him by his name, Your Honor.
Like she goes wishy-washy. Oh no, she said that the other day.
The other day she did.
On Monday, she said that.
The other day she did, Your Honor.
The other day she called the other guy dad.
Yeah,
like,
and that's why I was freaking out.
She calls the other guy dad? Now, you cannot blame the kid. She is probably confused because there are 2 men her mom is entertaining. But you kind of understand why Mr. Platt has his doubts here. You cannot watch your kid call another man dad and not have doubts about paternity, and there is more.
We take care of her, yes, I give it to you, you stepped up, but at the same time, every time you would get mad, you would deny her.
Because she would get mad at me because I couldn't discipline her. And like, she still does it to this day, like, oh, well, don't be doing this,
because
don't be doing that.
Because I feel like, you know what I'm saying?
That's my baby, and it's saying, it's my.
Prove to him that he's the father.
At this point, I am kind of leaning towards this dude being the father. He has not presented any compelling evidence that might change our minds, but maybe that evidence does not have to come from him, but from Ms. Mora. Here is what she thinks.
But basically, you would.
But Your Honor, since day one, since I found out that I was pregnant, and even after I had her, not once have I ever told him, you're not the father. I've always told him, you're the father, and I'm telling you, and I know for a fact that you are. And
only when a few
times
she get mad, she wouldn't say it.
Why is this guy still around? Why is this guy picking up this baby?
Yeah, you have to admit that this whole living situation is a bit less than ideal. Any man would have doubts if the mother of his child always had her ex hanging around his kid. But Ms. Mora says she has conclusive evidence that the baby is his.
I know the other dude is not the father because we've had so many miscarriages. And our last miscarriage was right before Anaya, and I lost that baby when I was 5 months. I was already in 2nd trimester.
So you were sleeping with this other guy?
Well, we have seen enough. Ms. Mora and Platt have had their time in court. It is time to put an end to this mystery and see who the father of this baby is. So what does the DNA test results say?
All right, well, let's go to the results. Jerome? Thank you.
You're welcome.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows.
Ms. Benskin insists that her 4-year-old child is Mr. Haskett's kid. Mr. Haskett, on the other hand, says this is a lie and that Ms. Benskin is nothing but a money-hungry liar, and his girlfriend is also here to back him up. But Ms. Benskin says if he doesn't start paying up his child support, he will go to jail.
He's about $7,000 to $8,000 behind in child support. He cannot hold a job. He has not held a job for a very long time. He's already been to jail once for it, and he's still not paying.
Well, you say you're here to do him a favor. Because you need to get this legal situation.
Okay, but why is she speaking for him? Importantly, why has this dude been paying child support for at least 4 years for a kid he is sure isn't his? That doesn't make any sense. Here is the explanation for that.
Because we had a court date set, and first it had got changed.
It didn't get changed. He didn't show up.
No.
He called in. He did not show up.
That is not how it happened. The first one was rescheduled, and then we had to go again, and then they said that they changed it, and then he rescheduled it.
That is a tricky spot to be in, and if he does not clear this up, he could actually end up going to jail. That would be a crazy injustice. That is why this DNA test is so important. But then the case gets a bit confusing for Mr. Haskett.
But you've even spent time in jail for failure to pay this support.
Yes.
I've never actually...
Yes, you did. You went to jail and you got out right after. Remember?
You don't remember going to jail, Mr. Haskett?
He bonded out right after.
The stakes are pretty high here, but it does not look like Mr. Haskett cares too much about them. Ms. Benskin says none of this is her fault, and Mr. Haskett could have had the DNA test done if he wanted, but he just never cared about doing it.
We're having sex with her, am I correct?
Yes.
You were not using protection?
No.
You were not using protection?
No.
All right, so now we're on the same page that we can make a baby with a paternity issue. So you had sex without protection. How long did this relationship go on?
Oh, so it is a proper love triangle. Mr. Haskett and his girlfriend used to be together, and then they got separated, and then he got with Ms. Benskin. He got back with his girlfriend, and now Ms. Benskin is being pushed out of the picture, but she is not going gently into that good night.
Called his family members, and they knew everything about it, and they are still in Kinsley's life. He just chooses not to be.
So you've talked to his family members, they accept Kinsley, you told him you were pregnant, and he just didn't respond. You couldn't get an answer from him.
Yes, Your Honor.
So was he the only guy you were having?
Wow, what a model, dude. Sleep with a woman without protection several times, and then block her on Facebook when she confronts you about it. Who amongst us wouldn't do that? Seriously, it just makes sense.
And no when I asked her that question.
Yes.
How do you know that?
She had came over to my house, but she had told me she had to pick up her friend from work. And after we had picked him up, he got in the car, he kissed her on the cheek and said that he loved her. And I just kind of stepped back from the situation and looked at it like, what?
This is just loser behavior. If your extended family accepts your baby mama and you don't, the odds are you are the one making a huge mistake. But Mr. Haskett has his own arguments.
Referring to as one of my good friends, and he didn't have a way to work. I gave him a ride to work in my car.
That was
and
his
if
car.
there was sexual intercourse with this other guy, why would I ask you to go with me to pick him up at his work?
Whoa. Now this puts a totally different complexion on things. If this is true, it just means that Ms. Benskin has been lying all this time, and we should not trust a word she says. Here is what she has to say about that.
Benskin, there is no doubt in your mind Mr. Haskett is your child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You have no doubt?
No doubt. I'm just ready to prove it to him. My daughter's 4. She deserves to know who her dad is, and she doesn't. Brent, we've lived 3 houses down from him for 2 months.
That is definitely psychotic. Definitely. Anyway, it is time for the huge reveal. Is Mr. Haskett the father of this beautiful baby girl, or is there someone else in the picture? Let's find out.
Resemblance, Mr. Haskett?
No.
Well, as I said, I have the results for you, but I do want to ask you, Ms. Benskin, one more time. No lying.
No lying.
Just tell the truth. Is there any other possible father?
No.
For Kinsley?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Jerome?
Mr. Morris has a crazy claim. He says that only one of Ms. Thorpe's twins belongs to him, and the other one belongs to another man. That is right. This man is only claiming one twin. Ms. Thorpe insists that that's nonsense, and here is how that case begins.
Mr. Morris, what do you mean you're the father of one twin and not the other? Explain.
Exactly how it sounds. Originally, I was believed that both of them was mine. Over time, certain circumstances.
Okay. First of all, these twins may be fraternal, but they look really, really similar. How likely is it that they have different fathers? Yeah, siblings with different dads can look similar too, but who are we kidding? How did they even get to this point in the first place?
I was seeing another guy at the time that me and Antoine was talking, but the time matched up to Antoine being the father of both of my kids. Before anything, we were friends, so I don't even understand why he's even putting me through this. I told Antoine that I wanted to be in a relationship with him, and he turned me down because he was still in love with the mother of his other child.
You know what I always say? If someone turns you down, the best thing to do is keep sleeping with them, and then with other dudes, and then make sure not to use protection. Nothing smarter than that. And you know the theme. It gets worse.
Yes, ma'am. I was the first one to get to see him and hold him. She was in a lot of pain, and they was in an NICU unit. It was only 3 pounds, but it was amazing, though. It was.
I don't know if you are religious, but that sounds a lot like divine intervention. Or Mr. Morris could just be lying to us. You never know what people are getting up to on paternity court. So what happened next?
Imani's knowledge, and inside the test, it was a thing where you get 3 samples, one for the father, one for the child, and one for the child's mother. But of course, she didn't know, so I swabbed myself, Paris, and then I used the one for the mother on the other child.
Your Honor, he told me he don't even know which child he swabbed.
Whoa, whoa, 0%? Yeah, He messed up the testing a little bit by swabbing his other daughter, but the fact that they came back 0% is crazy. That would mean that he isn't the father of the kids. What does Ms. Thorpe think about that?
He actually texted me and told me that the DNA test came back and that the twins were not his. At the time, I didn't respond automatically because, like I said, I was at work. So he ended up getting very upset and ended up posting it all over social media and telling everybody. He posted all over social media and told everybody that.
Oh, really? That is something you'd expect to hear from a child who just got caught doing something really wrong. If there was no doubt on Ms. Thorpe's side, would she reply with, oh? Probably not. But hey, it gets worse.
Since I was at work at the time, I wasn't able to respond the way that I wanted to respond.
When I got the O, I was, you knew.
Right.
But that's no reason to put it on Facebook, though, Your Honor.
No, that is no reason to put it.
At the time, I was.
Phew, this is heavy. After this, Mr. Morris just leaves the twins and Ms. Thorpe for 18 months. But something happened that made him come backle. Let us hear it from him.
He was asking around about how they was doing or what they was looking like. Family members and friends started to say, you sure they're not yours? And I had got sent a picture of my youngest daughter now, and it was side by side with London.
This is just nasty. Everything about this case stinks. So while he was giving Ms. Thorpe grief about the twins not being his and posting on social media, he was actually cheating on his long-term partner with her? That is crazy.
I feel like you see a resemblance between London and your youngest.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you don't believe you see a resemblance between Paris and your youngest.
Not as much, but the reason I'm saying Paris, on that test, the test still came back of results. If I'm believing one might be, then one still can't be.
You told them no? Really? That is it? No. And now you are in court to prove that this man is the father of your kids? This is not going to work at all. Let us find out what the results say and put this folks out of their misery.
One of them might be calling their daddy Uncle Twan. Jerome, give me the envelope. I'm about so sick of this. Don't even make any sense. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. There are two sets of results because they are fraternal twins, so we tested each twin.
Ms. Day says she is the Virgin Mary if Mr. Harrington isn't declared as the father of her 1-month-old daughter. Mr. Harrington says ready the trumpets and declare away because he is certain he isn't this baby's father. Here is how it starts out.
So, Mr. Harrington, you say she's pinning a baby on you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain.
Delaney is not my child. This is the reason, though, because there's other contenders, and she's a promiscuous person. She like to be, you know what I'm saying, she a party person. So she do whatever she feel like she want to do.
Well, that cannot possibly be it. Mrs. Day looks like a nice young woman who would never think of doing something so clearly abhorrent just to get a nice father for her kid. Right, Ms. Day?
Is not the father of my child. I am the Virgin Mary. There's no other possibilities. I have not been messing around with anybody else throughout the time that we were messing around.
Well,
so you are 100%.
Whoa. I guess there is no point conducting a DNA test then. We can all go home. This case has been solved because I am pretty sure Ms. Day isn't the Virgin Mary. Here is her account of what happened here.
We were living together in September. So we got into it, broke up. My middle child, the other child that we have together, was having seizures. So she was in and out of the hospital. When we was in the hospital, at the hospital, we did it. So when we did it—
In the hospital? Okay. These are crackhead parents for sure. Imagine learning that you were conceived in a hospital. That is really freaky. So now that they have conceived the kid, let's learn what happened after.
She didn't even tell me that she was pregnant. I had to find out through an anonymous texter that—
How did you find out she was pregnant?
An anonymous texter, I swear. We got into a conversation, I got the text right here.
Let me see those, please, Jerome.
Look.
Let me see.
You about to see?
Make it up?
I swear to God, why would I make that up? Like,
I don't know.
This looks like an episode out of a badly rated police TV series. They hook up in a hospital. He is tipped by an anonymous texter. The texter implies she is cheating on him. What next? So what did Mr. Harrington do afterwards?
I heard whatever. I was like, so I heard you was hiding the pregnancy. She was like, Kayla didn't want me to tell you, and she was also saying that you the daddy. I'm like, how? When she ain't talking to me. So I tried to call her. She not answering the phone.
He's trying to flip it around.
4 months pregnant? That is when you found out you were having a baby? After 4 months? That does not sound very Virgin Mary to me. But let's move on. What happened after that?
I probably told his sister before I
would.
told him, but even if it was something that I did not tell him, it was only a week, probably like a week span of time.
Yeah, you sound right.
And how do I sound?
Like
somebody telling the truth,
like you're trying to, like what you do all the time.
Oh, so that is it. There are two other guys who might be the father, but Ms. Day is certain that she only started talking to both of them after she got pregnant and conceived the baby. Right, so let's move on. What happened after that?
You showed up for the birth as the daddy?
No,
Yes,
I didn't even sign a birth certificate. How?
You didn't sign a birth certificate, but you wanted to give her your last name?
If it's mine. If it's mine. I said, if you're sure that it's my child, give her my last name.
No, you didn't.
So Mr. Harrington shows up at the hospital on the delivery date and asks Ms. Day to give the child his last name. Ms. Day says this is proof that he always believed that the child was his. Mr. Harrington says that is BS. Anyway, here is Ms. Day's witness. Let us see what she has to say.
About the birth of Nalani that would indicate, since you are her witness,
Nothing.
that Mr. Harrington is Nalani's biological father.
Because when he came to the hospital, he asked her not to be named Nalania. He wanted her to be named Naya.
They just trying to make
He don't want to admit nothing because because his girlfriend told him.
This is crazy. So Mr. Harrington is basically a couch-riding bum who depends almost entirely on the favors of women he dates to sustain himself. But Mr. Harrington has some evidence in his favor too.
I wasn't even finishing her, you know. I wasn't finishing. We was doing, you know, I was like a chauffeur. I was in and out, you know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why.
You didn't complete the sexual act, so you don't feel like you could have impregnated her.
And I'm gonna tell you, because the conception date.
So you're saying her conception date is wrong?
Whoa. That puts a new twist on things. Gather the choir around because it seems we may have to prepare to declare Ms. Day the Virgin Mary, because those dates do not line up at all. Anyway, here is what the DNA test results have to say.
So the real truth ultimately is that you are here because you belong here.
Right.
Let's get the results. We get it. We get it now. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows.
Mr. Scott believes that Ms. Graham's daughter cannot be his because she is not a twin, and his lineage is very twin-centric, whatever that means. That is a crazy claim, and Ms. Graham believes it is total nonsense. Here is how it starts out.
Basically, we're planning a wedding and we're getting in arguments every day about the paternity. He knows he's the father. He's new since I've told him several times that he's the father and he still tries to deny it. And I just want this resolved today.
Okay, we get that. People have paternity questions all the time. However, they do not have these questions while planning a wedding. So how did this couple go from being engaged and happy to paternity court?
I want to move on with it, but not if Taylor Rose is not my daughter. I don't want to move on
So if Taylor's not your biological child, you're not getting married?
Hell no. Excuse me.
Oh. That's news to you.
Uh-oh, that does not sound like someone who is completely sure the kid belongs to her partner. If she is so sure that the baby belongs to her partner, then she would not be disturbed at all by this. Well, here is what she has to say.
Ms. Graham, you admit this is an on-again, off-again relationship.
Yes.
When you're off, were there other men you were sleeping with?
Yes.
Dating?
No.
Yes.
Me and him have had sex constantly unprotected.
Well, that may be true, Ms. Grams, but the intensity of your sex life with your partner cannot determine whether your kid belongs to him or not. You cannot just say we slept together so many times that the kid has to be his. So what happened during the whole off thing?
I definitely know the night I could see. We went down to Orlando. We got a room. We had sex for about a week nonstop. He knows exactly which weekend I'm talking about.
Your Honor, that's
it's like after I got pregnant, like I said, he just flipped the script.
Were you engaged during then?
Yeah, no, we were engaged before then.
Okay, hold up, wait a minute. A whole week going at it like rabbits? That must be some record. Maybe that is why Ms. Graham says they had a really active sex life. So what made Mr. Scott start doubting?
That she was pregnant prior to her telling me. The reason how I found out was when I went back into the house, I was searching through paperwork, cleaning up, and when I cleaned up, I saw something from the doctor's office and it said that she was like 6 weeks pregnant. And we only been back together for like 2 weeks, so.
That is sad. So Ms. Grams had to go through the pregnancy on her own because Mr. Scott denied the baby from the start? He never gave her a second look and never changed his mind. But he has a good reason for that, from his perspective at least.
Why did I find that paperwork that says 6 weeks?
Well, that is an issue that he's having, and I'd like to give you a chance to explain that, Ms. Graham. He says when he found the paperwork, he found it before you even said anything to him.
Well, it is settled then. If Ms. Grams is saying the truth, then the baby most definitely belongs to Mr. Scott. But what are the chances that she has been truthful all along? Because Mr. Scott has an alternative explanation for all of this.
Came up to the hospital. He caused a dramatic scene.
What happened at the hospital?
He cursed me out. He said how he was never going to sign that birth certificate because my daughter wasn't a twin. He knew that the child was not his. I'm a cheating.
At the hospital when you just had the baby?
I just had my child.
That is crazy. Imagine a man showing up at your delivery to scream and accuse you of infidelity. That would make me so mad. But Mr. Scott said something about a twin here. Let us hear him expand on that.
It's running my family. Taylor Rose is not a twin.
Well, every child born in a family that has twins won't be a twin.
Well, I know my sister didn't have any twins. I know I will be the one to have twins. Taylor Rose is not my child.
Where are you getting this information from, Mr. Scott?
It's what I know.
That is such a crazy theory to have about your family. So because his elder sister did not have a twin, he would be the one to have the twin. That is insane. But there are even more insane arguments in court today.
Hey, the daycare.
First of all, he paid the daycare this one time that he's referring to.
That's not true.
There was, as I told you, when I was pregnant, I did start seeing someone shortly, and he did pay the daycare several times. He came this one time when
this guy was introduced as...
That did not look like a very convincing answer from Ms. Grams. In fact, it sounds like the sort of answer you'd expect from someone who isn't very sure where she stands with her kid. Anyway, here is the verdict of the DNA test.
At the end of the day, this is about Taylor. I have the results for you, and I want to give them to you because I want to figure out in a healthy way, in a positive way, where we go from here. Jerome, may I have the envelope, please?
Mr. Johnson admits sleeping with Ms. Walters, but argues that she cannot possibly carry his child because she is a shady manipulator. You have to wonder what being a shady manipulator has to do with carrying someone's baby. Anyway, here is how that case begins.
Why did you question Ms. Walters' character from the moment you met her?
Because things were shady from the first day when I met her. I mean, I met her back in 2015, November, and I was just out of town, just looking to have some fun. And probably three days later, we met and...
Where? What? Her wedding ring fell out of her pocket? So she was married while all of this was going on? Really? That is nuts. Mr. Johnson expands on this and says this happened while he was taking her jeans off. But Ms. Walters says this is a lie.
The particular day that he's talking about, my wedding ring did not fall out of my pocket. The day that my wedding ring came about, it was me and two of my friends, well, one of my friends, I brung over for his friend.
Yeah, you know what? That clears it all up. There are no more arguments here. Everything just makes sense now. Of course they don't. Why is a married woman on a dating site and sleeping with random dudes? But at least she isn't still on that dating site, right?
Still say she's single on a dating site, on the same dating site. And she was on there 7 days ago.
You got all the receipts, huh?
I got all of it. All of it. Every screenshot.
Was Mr. Johnson the only man you were dating at this time?
Nope. Because every time I was in the car with her, she was telling me to hush up while she was on the phone with another dude.
Wait, so these are two married people sneaking around? Gosh, that is crazy. Imagine being married and having to appear on paternity court to testify about your cheating ways on national TV. Both of them are the worst, and that is why Mr. Johnson doubts that he is the father.
When she hit me up talking about sending money for the child and stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm not finna send you no money, and I know what I already know what's up. I already know what's up with you.
What do you know?
I know what's up.
So you're...
She getting money from another dude and spending and messing with me with it.
Phew. This is messy and so nasty at the same time. But buckle up because it is going to get even crazier. Here is how Mr. Johnson reacted when he heard that Ms. Walters was going to have a baby.
You're saying it was protected sex for you because you had already decided you were going to...
I had a whole girlfriend and a wife. Why would I not use protection? You know what I'm saying? I'm sleeping with my girlfriend unprotected. Why would I be sleeping with you? You know? Why would I be sleeping with you?
Why would you be sleeping with her if you got a girlfriend and a wife?
Well, cause that relationship was about over with.
Ms. Walters says she has been 100% honest with Mr. Johnson and always told him he was just an option. But that is the thing. Mr. Johnson doesn't even think he is an option. He thinks the baby looks like another dude. Here is how he puts it.
Dude, don't talk about it's the other dude.
What other dude?
The whole dude you, man, 3 years ago.
Okay, 3 years ago. Okay,
Dang,
my
y'all got
daughter's
that
only 2, so what does a picture of a guy from 3 years ago have
Who
to do
is
with
this other guy he's talking about?
Whoa, whoa, this case is about to get crazy. So Ms. Walters says there are 2 possible options for the paternity. The first dude has been tested, and that leaves Mr. Johnson holding the bag. He has to be the father.
that time, every single day?
No,
Did we not?
every single day? No.
I went back and looked at the date, and on December 5th, we were at my house drinking tequila and partying.
And so you remember the date specifically.
I remember
and
the
you
date
know that's the
specifically.
window of...
But Mr. Johnson says that does not matter. Yeah, that is going to be a huge no. Remember that Mr. Johnson has a wife and a girlfriend through all of this, so he is basically trying his best to win the prize for the worst husband and boyfriend alive. And it gets worse.
In the night at my house, we were not using condoms. We used condoms like once, but all the other times we did not.
Hey, now I might have took one off, but no.
If you took one off, then it's a probability
That was
of a
after the
baby.
fact.
Well, first of all, Mr. Johnson, birth control is not 100%.
Yes, Sean.
So that's one thing. The other thing is you got a wife.
Well, Ms. Walters has a point there. If anyone is going to be called a shady manipulator, then it has to be Mr. Johnson. It has to be him, because he was playing 3 different women. But that verdict can change if the DNA test returns and proves that Mr. Johnson isn't this baby's father. Anyway, let us see what the test has to say.
On it like that, but if that's how it goes like that.
And when you look at her, you feel like you've missed a lot of time.
Yes, Sean.
All right, I don't want to make you all wait a moment longer. Jerome?
Ms. Bryson has dragged Mr. McCarroll to court today because she wants him to admit that he is the father of her child. While Ms. Bryson admits that she has cheated before, she is here with proof that Mr. McCarroll is indeed the father of her kid. Here is how it starts out.
Because of Ms. Bryson's admission, you have no choice but to believe that another man is Xylan's biological father. And after today's DNA results are revealed, you demand that Xylan's name be changed. Ms. Bryson, what is the nature of your relationship? You're separated?
Yes, ma'am. We are currently separated.
Are you working?
Oh, now I get it. Ms. Bryson thinks Mr. McCarroll is incapable of being faithful, so she does not want to mess with him any longer. This seems like a fairly straightforward case, right? Well, let us see.
About my life to make it where we would never have to be here in this situation, where she would never have to worry about who her baby daddy was or none of that crazy stuff. I was trying to work and go to school
that he does, Your
so
Honor.
that we could not be here and have question marks over these kids' heads. Like
everywhere he goes, he meets someone, and he always sleeps with them.
Wait, what? Hey, Mr. McCarroll. Your name is Mr. McCarroll, not Dr. King or Dr. Umar. You are not a savior, you are just a man who might have fathered a baby with another woman. This sort of narrative just won't fly in this court. Anyway, Mr. McCarroll eventually starts blaming Ms. Bryson for everything.
I've avoided this by working and going to school and trying to make a better way for her.
And every time he worked. And hold on, why is it you weren't able to do that?
Oh my God, I can't talk to my mother on the phone. I can't read a book without getting put out, cursed out.
Your Honor, when he did find a job while we was together, I was supposed to bring his lunch in for him. I called him, he didn't answer, and I know him.
Yeah, this dude is no black savior. The way Ms. Bryson describes him, he is more of a pimp named Slickback than some savior of single moms. And you know what? He's got the looks for it too. But this case is about to get even nastier.
He was telling her she upstairs sleep with the baby. When I get a chance to get out, I'm gonna come over and we gone.
I don't know where
and
you
he's
got
like,
that story. I want to take a lot of
It's always, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I don't know nothing. Like he over here talking now like I'm the bad guy.
What was the nature of the relationship? What was going on in the relationship when you got...
Hold up. At the beginning of this case, Ms. Bryson said that she can no longer be with this man because he cheats every time. And now she is saying that she wants all her kids to be his, and that isn't all. She also says that he used to be with her even when she was in a relationship, and he was also in a relationship. Well, let us see her talk her way out of this one.
He came over. I asked the guy that I was in a relationship with, could I do his hair? He said yes. He came over and was flirting on me, touching on me. Every time we speak on the phone, I try to call and let him talk to the kids. Every time that we speak on the phone,
time, really? Every
he
time.
always flirt. I never, ever cheated on him when we were together. Ever.
You just cheat on other people with him.
Whoa, this is heavy. So Ms. Bryson is the victim here, not the other men she used to cheat on with Mr. McCarroll, not the other fellows whose hearts she broke. She is the real victim. But if she cheated on other men with him, why is she so mad that he is cheating on her with other women? Anyway, let's see what proof she has that this baby 100% belongs to Mr. McCarroll.
You have outlined the window of conception that you calculated.
Don't forget to put the other.
How did you get these dates?
Where his dot at, or his circle or whatever?
I actually went online because when I found out that I was pregnant, I had currently went to the doctor a week before. I was trying to have a son. I hadn't had a child in 3 years.
Whoa, both of them really are crackheads. There is no hiding it. This conception calendar makes sense right now. And if Ms. Bryson is telling the truth, it would mean the kid is 100% Mr. McCarroll. So does Mr. McCarroll remember this happening? Let's see.
No, ma'am. We were having sex around that time, but on the 28th specifically, I can't say that. She might have been with that guy then. I have no idea.
The truth is, you all were separated at that time. You had another girlfriend you were dealing with?
Yes, Your Honor, yes.
Okay. Ms. Bryson, when were you intimate with the other man?
Well, we slept together also on April the 26th. That's the day that I split up with him.
Wait, so there is another dude who could be the father? Why is she not including him as a possible father then? The dates are too close and she should be including this guy as a possible father, right? Well, she has her reasons and here they are.
I don't think that he is because my son, he looked just like my daughter. And also I have another 6-week-old by him and they look the same when they were born. And that's why I just don't think the other guy is the father at all.
I think the total opposite. I think the new baby and my daughter look exactly alike, but...
This is so crazy. Anyway, we have another potential father in court, and there is a real possibility that he might be this baby's father. Here is what he has to say about the whole situation.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe you are Zylan's biological father?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Why?
Because at the same time she was with me, she was messing around with him. Then I lost my train of thought just thinking about the stuff.
It makes you upset?
Yeah, because I found out that she was messing around on me. So she told me she was 99% sure that he was the father. And
what a case. At this point, you kind of hope the baby does not belong to either of them because maybe then the poor kid would have a shot at a normal life. Anyway, the DNA test result is ready, and here is what it says.
Because you believe the child was yours, or because you were willing to take responsibility for the child?
I was willing to take responsibility.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
The hospital where we live, if you're not married, they don't let them sign it.
All right, I'm ready for the results. Jerome, we have 2 results today. The first reads as follows.
Mr. Mason says he lost all trust in Ms. Malone when his spies found out that she'd been cheating on him while he was at work. Here is how that case starts out. In alleys? Really? Like a criminal? Okay, that is crackhead behavior, Ms. Malone, and it is little wonder you are now dealing with a paternity doubt. But let us hear more about this sneaking about.
I really want to know if Avery's really mad or if she isn't.
And so, take me back. I want to understand the nature of this relationship.
Okay, when me and Miss Malone actually first met, we met on a website. I took her out on a date. We went to somewhere to eat.
So this started out...
So much is riding on the result they get today. Mr. Mason still believes he can build a home with Ms. Malone, but it all depends on how today's trial go. Anyway, let's have Mr. Mason tell us a bit more about this snacking business.
Sneaking around doing what?
Seeing other guys. But there was a break because he wasn't showing me any attention.
We wasn't on a break at all. We wasn't on a break.
Were you all committed?
Knowledge, we was in a relationship.
Your Honor,
still.
yeah, we've been on and off for 3 years now. Right now, we're off.
Are you living together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ah, there you have it. People don't realize that exploring your options while being supposedly committed to one person is never a good idea. Because guess what? One of those options is being on paternity court. And that is never a good look. But Ms. Malone has a good reason why she wanted to explore her options.
Moved in with us after probably a month or 2 months after we met.
No.
Moved in with you and, you say us?
Me and my family members.
Okay, you and your oh, he moved in.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So the bottom line is very quickly after you met, all of a sudden you were living together.
Hold up. Hold up. Mr. Mason says that his watchdog told him that someone came over while he was at work, and Ms. Malone said it was her father. And then Mr. Mason called her father up and he confirmed it. So if he confirmed it, why does Mr. Mason think she cheated on him?
Did he give descriptions of all of them?
No, Your Honor,
yes,
it was
Your
not.
Honor. Yes,
no, it
Your Honor,
wasn't.
he actually did.
No,
yes,
it wasn't.
Your Honor, he actually did.
When I cheated on Mr. Mason, we was having problems in our relationship. Because the simple fact he was not showing me any attention, he just wasn't being a man that I expected him to be.
Okay, so let me say this. When it comes to the window of conception, that's what's relevant as it relates to the paternity.
And there we have it, folks. Mr. Mason has a very valid paternity question. Ms. Malone cheated on him multiple times and did not use protection, which is crazy. And she did all of that within the window of conception. Of course it gets worse.
When you found out you were pregnant, did you tell the other guy it could possibly be his child as well?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
When you told Mr. Mason you were pregnant, did you also say to him, and you know because I cheated, it could possibly be the other guy's child as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
So she did tell you that, Mr. Mason?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why'd you hesitate?
Wait, what? That is like the worst way to find out that your kid might belong to another person. Ms. Malone did not even have the decency to break the news to him herself. Here is what she says happened.
I found out I was pregnant with her. He had so much anger, he decides to announce it with a room full of our friends and my mom.
Your Honor, I had anger for the simple fact that I was working all these hours trying to provide for my family. And she's sneaking with different guys in and out of the house.
That is crackhead behavior. But can you blame him? His partner was sneaking around and exploring with other men. The anger from that may just have driven him mad. But Ms. Malone has one more evidence up her sleeves.
This is me, LaQuisha Malone. Do you know who this is? Me again. Do you know this is Avery? Mr. Mason, it's not. Me. Yes, it is. You can't tell me that's not Avery. Mr. Mason, okay, I'll show you. Me, no, Marcus, don't argue with me. It's Avery. Me, I'ma show you casing.
Well, that isn't too convincing, but it is probably as good as you are ever going to get on paternity court. Now, it is time to put this case to bed and decide who the father of this baby is.
I think I've heard enough. I think we should go to the results. Jerome, we have results for Avery, and we also have the results for the unborn child since paternity is in question. First result is for Avery. In the case of Mason versus Malone.
Mr. Kenneth Fegan is in court today to expose a dirty secret he kept for over 40 years. Why does the nature of this secret raise questions over Ms. Pinkston's paternity? Ms. Pinkston insists she knows who her real father is. And here is how the court case starts.
That Ms. Pinkston is your biological daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you kept this secret for 40 years, but now say the DNA will prove your case.
That's right, Your Honor.
Ms. Pinkston, you stand before me without any doubt. Mr. Fegan.
Ms. Pinkston's mother took her to Mr. Fegan's house and casually tells her he's her biological father. And of course, she made her promise not to tell anyone about it. That little girl carried that secret till this day at court, and presently she's 43. Wow, didn't Mrs. Pinkston think her daughter was too young to handle a time bomb such as this?
I met Mr. Fegan here when I was 16 years old. I never knew of him, never heard nothing about him. And then all of a sudden one day, my mom decided to take me with her to a friend's house. My mom calls me to the dining room. She goes, I want you to meet somebody. They get to talking to me, Mr. Fegan, and my mom. Then my mom just out says, hey, by the way, this is your father.
Who did you think your father was? Did you know your father?
Even though Mrs. Pinkston was married, she had a secret affair with Mr. Fegan during their working years at a plant. Can you imagine that? So during breaks and after working hours, they engaged in extracurricular activities. Then she'll return home to her husband like nothing happened. This is beyond scandalous.
Me and Miss Pinkston's mother had an affair. We worked together at a plant. We got to know each other.
You spent a lot of time together. Because you worked a lot of hours together.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Did you know she was married?
Well, yes, at the time. It was wrong what we did.
How long did the affair last?
This hide-and-seek love game went on for 6 months without Mr. Gus Pinkston finding out about it. How would you suspect a thing when your wife only goes work and comes back at what you presume to be the appropriate time? Eventually, she got pregnant. And guess what she did? She conspired with her illicit lover to keep the pregnancy and pin it on her husband. This is sickening. If Mr. Pinkston really isn't the defendant's biological father, then they played him to his grave.
And told me that she was pregnant.
When she told you, did she say, and I think you are the father, or you might be?
I was the father. And she told me we're going to keep this a secret. Well, then we knew we had to be quiet because she was married.
They knew it was wrong for what they did to my dad.
She did not.
You won't believe Mrs. Pinkston's reason for introducing her daughter to who she believes to be her biological father. She didn't do this because she felt guilty or was trying to make things right. No, not at all. Instead, it was because she thought her baby girl was dating Mr. Fegan's family member. The intention was to prevent her from practicing incest, but little did they know that it wasn't her, but her sister that was dating the supposed family member.
All came out for the cat to get out the bag is when I was 16, they told me that Kenny was my father. The only reason why was because my mom thought I was dating one of his family members, and that's why they told me. But needless to say, it was not me, it's my sister that was dating.
You can only imagine that learning about her mother's infidelity traumatized young Miss Pinkston till this present day. The little girl couldn't share the secret with the man she feels is her biological father till he passed away. One can't help but understand how hard it was for her to hide such a secret from her dad.
That was like the worst day of my life because my mom sit down, she goes, "This is your father." I'm like, "No, my dad is at work, so what in the world are you talking about?" And next thing you know, there's tears everywhere. Everybody's crying. It was pretty much the worst day of my life.
The crazy thing is, Mr. Fegan did meet his mistress's husband in person a few times at his house. Yeah, you heard me right. During these visits, he would pose as a family friend, but his aim was to see Ms. Pinkston. What's more absurd is that he claims he has an inkling that Mr. Pinkston knew the truth about his little girl's paternity. How convenient it is for him to say that when the man is late, may his soul rest in peace.
Had some kind of inkling that I was
You felt like he knew?
It was just a feeling that in my heart that I felt that he had to know something because I loved this girl so much.
Did you have an occasion to meet her father, the man she believes?
A couple times I met him.
You did?
Yeah.
No, you haven't heard it all. Mr. Fegan extended his reach after Mr. Gus's death. While the Pinkstons were mourning, he took the opportunity to tell the kids of his supposed daughter that he's their grandfather. That right there is a hypocritical move, and Judge Lauren, like everyone in the courtroom, was shocked when Ms. Pinkston brought this into the light. But his excuse was that he felt she had told her kids about him already, so he decided to put icing on the cake. You can only imagine how devastated those kids were when he told them what he told them.
It was probably a few days after he passed away, we was all at my mom's house. And Mr. Fegan, he comes over and I had my kids there. My kids really didn't know him, but when my dad passed away, he decided to take it upon himself to tell my kids.
The stakes with this case are extremely high. Whoever Ms. Pinkston's father actually is, the secret has been exposed. The stakes have never been higher, and the result of this scandal will shock you. What does the DNA test say?
Fegan.
Yes.
You are not her father.
Oh my God.
Miss Holthouse stands before the judge to prove the paternity of her 3-month-old son, Xander. How could you sleep with your mother's boyfriend and get pregnant by him? That's just nuts. Very few men are as cruel as Mr. Shinwald, because how can you impregnate your girlfriend and her daughter at the same time? Let's hear what he has to say.
Ms. Holthouse, you are here to prove paternity of your 3-month-old son, Zayden.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shockingly, you confess it's either a man you shared a sexual relationship with who wants nothing to do with your child.
Mr. Shinwald doesn't deny that he had a sexual relationship with Ms. Holthouse, but he's unwilling to accept that he impregnated her. What a disgusting human. Well, that's where the effectiveness of a paternity test comes into play, so we would find out in due time. Pacing about outside the courtroom is Mrs. Holthouse. Desperate to know the outcome of this court case, she is willing to testify a thing or two as well.
You are Ms. Holthouse's mother's boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Though you admit you were intimate with your girlfriend's daughter, you say you strongly doubt you fathered her child.
Yes, Your Honor.
So Ms. Holthouse's mother is waiting outside the courtroom, and I'm sure
it all began with a text message Mr. Shinwald received while he was seated beside his girlfriend. It was an encoded message from her daughter, but he pretended like he didn't know what it meant. That text message ignited a temptation in him, and the temptation became an inferno days later when he saw her in tight clothes. From there on, things got out of control, and one thing led to another. Perhaps he liked his girlfriend's younger version and decided to have them both.
This all started with a word you misspelled in a text.
Yes, Your Honor.
He told us the word you abbreviated, and I can imagine how you abbreviated it. You sent the message. Was it meant for him or meant for someone else?
It was meant for him, but my mom was sitting...
With the attention turned to her, Ms. Holthouse confesses that the text was never a mistake. She knowingly seduced her mother's boyfriend right underneath her nose. What a naughty girl she is. And it gets worse.
About having a sexual relationship with your mother's boyfriend.
I had not really thought about it until I got a phone call from him. And he was talking about having sex and going somewhere. I snuck out of my grandma's house that night and we went to a park.
Rather than ignoring the text message, can you guess what Mr. Shinuald did? He acknowledged his wooer's move with a phone call. Over the phone, they made plans on where to meet and the atrocities to commit when they met. The chosen venue for the intercourse was a park late at night. Now it's clear that they both had sexual desires for each other, but were waiting for someone to make the first move.
So how long did this sexual relationship last?
It was about 6 months.
6 months?
Yes, sure.
Did your mother have any idea this was going on?
She didn't have any idea until Mr. Chenault and her got locked up and he got out while he was in jail.
How did she find out?
She had kind of manipulated both of us, saying that I told her.
After the night at the park, their scandalous relationship went on for 6 months without Ms. Bogardus suspecting anything. But when her suspicions began, she played them both by lying to Mr. Shinuald that her daughter had already confessed to her. What a smart move. That witty move was enough to get her boyfriend spouting the truth about what went down between him and her daughter.
I did not know, but as my mom was pregnant with my sister, my sister is Mr. Chenault's daughter.
How old is her daughter?
She's about to turn 11 months.
How old is your child?
He is 3 months.
When you find out you're pregnant, whose child do you think it is?
The craziest part of this case is that Ms. Holthouse and her mother both got pregnant in close proximity. Her mother's baby is 11 months old, while hers is 3 months old. It would be disastrous if the defendant is the biological father of both babies.
I'm guessing at this point, hoping she throws you out at this point.
Actually, Your Honor, no.
Now it's time for Ms. Bogardus's testimony. She detected foul play when her daughter developed weird behaviors whenever she's around Mr. Shinuald. What's more fascinating is that she and her boyfriend have been together for 20 years, and he helped her raise her daughter from infancy. This right here is a very sick man.
Something was going on.
Right, because my daughter was acting funny.
What was she acting like?
If I was sitting on the couch next to Mr. Chenault and I would get up to go to the bathroom, she would get up out of the chair across the room to sit by him.
Oh, no, she didn't.
As it stands, Mr. Shinuald could be the biological father of both kids birthed by his girlfriend and her daughter. There's only one way to find out, a paternity test. Let's just check out what the DNA test had to say about this case.
Chenault Bogardus. As it pertains to 3-month-old Zayden Holthouse, Mr. Chenault, it has been determined by this court are not.
Ms. Kavanaugh had appeared before Judge Lauren a while ago to test 2 men she felt were potential fathers to her 1-month-old son, Malcolm. Unfortunately for her, none of them tested positive. Now she's back again to conduct a paternity test for Mr. Scott and Mr. Spence, her mother's friend, on the possibility of either of them being the father of the same kid. Wow. Did someone turn up the heat in the court because it's so hot in here?
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Ms. Kavanaugh, you appeared in our courtroom previously and tested 2 men as potential fathers of your 1-month-old son, Malcolm.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unfortunately, neither turned out to be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, today...
Is there a limited number of times you can turn a woman down if you're not interested in her? I don't think so. Miss Kavanaugh made several attempts to have sex with her mom's close friend, but he turned her down time and time again. Eventually, he gave in and let her have her way with him. What's wrong with involving her mother when she was being too persistent? Perhaps he wanted her to, but was shy at first.
A friend of Miss Kavanaugh's mother and say her daughter made several attempts to have sex with you. Then after a lapse in judgment, you admit you did sleep with her. Now you say there's a chance you could be Malcolm's father. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your mother's friend?
In the midst of the chaos lies the calmness of the fact that Mr. Spence never had a sexual relationship with Miss Kavanaugh's mother. It's hard to believe that a grown-up man and woman would have a very close relationship without sexual activities involved, though, but who knows? Anything is possible.
And so was he just a friend of your mother's, or did you know whether or not he was intimate with your mother?
That I do not know of. I just know that they were really good friends. Like, that's all I know.
Mr. Spence?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you enlighten the court on the nature of your relationship with Ms. Kavanaugh's mother?
Judge Lauren is curious to know how many times the intercourse occurred. Aren't we all? Mr. Spence claims it happened once, but his friend's daughter believes it to be more than once.
So how many times were you intimate with her?
One.
Just once?
Just once.
Just one time, Ms. Kavanaugh?
Your Honor, I do not believe it to be once. It was at least twice, but how I remember it.
At first, when Ms. Kavanaugh got pregnant, she didn't think her mom's friend was the baby's father. Instead, she thought it was one of the men she previously brought to the court. But when the results were out, and none of them were her baby's father, she came to a conclusion that Mr. Spence could be the one. Judging from the last time the pair had sex, there's a strong chance that he could be Malcolm's biological father. But even with that, we can't jump into conclusions just yet.
So, when you found out you were pregnant, did Mr. Spence's name come to mind immediately?
No, Your Honor. It really was like, I thought Mr. Bowles was the dad. Well, after the court, I started thinking, well...
Ms. Kavanaugh Sr., thanks to her other daughter, knew something was up between the accuser and defendant, but they denied it whenever she asked. But one day, during a mother and daughter argument, young Ms. Kavanaugh angrily unveiled the truth about her secret affair with Mr. Spence.
Because the relationship was inappropriate. I felt betrayed. Actually, when we were together, like all in the same room, I noticed them looking at each other a little differently.
You did?
Yeah, I knew my gut.
Woman's intuition.
Exactly.
My, oh my. Could you believe that during the period of the secret affair, Ms. Kavanaugh Jr. didn't hide the fact that she slept with other men from Mr. Spence? Oh, so it was an open relationship. Now we understand his doubts of being Malcolm's father, although he's ready to take responsibility if the test reveals he's responsible. Also present in court is Mr. Scott, who's also a potential candidate for being the baby's biological father.
Oh, so she told you?
Yes.
What did she say?
Sleeping with other people. I got a boyfriend.
Oh.
Which was Mr. Bowles at the time, Your Honor.
Understood.
Yeah.
But we also know that there was Mr. Scott, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah,
he's been tested and he's here. So describe your relationship with Mr. Scott.
There's a misunderstanding between young Ms. Kavanaugh and Mr. Scott on whether or not condoms were used whenever they had sex. The young woman believes there was one time they did it without protection, but the young man thinks not. How do you forget such details? Well, perhaps they were under the influence. Although comparing Mr. Scott's baby picture with Malcolm's, they look so alike. But hey, looks can be deceiving, so we can't judge the case based on the striking resemblance.
We're not using protection.
I use protection every time. I don't recall, not using protection.
So you don't recall. Now she says there was an instance when you did not, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say there was no instance?
No, ma'am. I strongly, I don't believe that, Malcolm is mine.
You don't?
I don't.
Have you seen a picture of him?
Yes, ma'am.
After previously testing 2 separate men without getting a father for her baby, 2 different men are being tested again. But who actually is Malcolm's biological father? Let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
The paternity of 1-month-old Malcolm Kavanaugh. Mr. Scott, you are not. Are you ready for the next result? You okay?
Hey, I'm just nervous because I know I made mistakes and I can't change them.
Nothing crushes a man harder than finding out he's not his only son's biological father. Mr. Pace is in the courtroom today against his baby mama, Ms. Fobbs, because she cheated on him with Mr. Randolph, his roommate. Wow, this is crazy. Both men stand a chance of fathering the little boy.
Jerome, good day, everyone. Mr. Pace, you say you will be crushed today if DNA results reveal you are not the biological father of your son, Prince.
Yes, Your Honor.
You maintain that the defendant betrayed you you by cheating with Prince's second possible father, your best friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Fobbs, you say you were caught between the man you're in love with.
For Mr. Pace, 3 relationships are at stake today. The outcome of this case would determine if he would continue to be friends with best friend, father his son, and love his woman, the defendant. But whatever the outcome, it's unlikely he will ever look at his woman and best friend the same way again. I can't blame him for feeling this way.
Well, what's at stake would be, I would say, 3 relationships. The relationship that I have with Ms. Fobbs, as well as the relationship that I have with Mr. Randolph, also the relationship that I have with Prince. So there is a lot on the line for me. That's my little man.
Ms. Fobbs and Mr. Pace's epic relationship literally started on a beautiful sunny day, but it's on the verge of ending on what you could call a cloudy day. She moved in with him and his best friend shortly after they started dating. Now that was his mistake. He probably should have moved out to a new space when he decided to have his girl move in with him. Well, they moved out eventually when she got pregnant.
We met while I was actually driving. It was a hot day. She had on short shorts. I'm a leg man.
Okay.
So I pulled over, actually, and we had a conversation. I ended up getting her phone number. We went out on a few dates. We kind of bonded real quick. She ended up moving in with me and Mr. Randolph.
This sounds like a love triangle here, but Ms. Fobbs thinks not. She claims her intercourse with Mr. Randolph was only a one-time thing. Can someone tell this woman that once is enough to make a baby? Her excuse for cheating on her lover is that he works mostly at night and she felt neglected because he was hardly home when she needed him. How does that justify her scandalous actions?
I wouldn't necessarily call it a love triangle because the situation with me and Randolph only happened once. Upon me being in the house with Byron, the thing is, he works at night, so he's never really home with me, and I kind of took that as a feeling of neglect.
Apparently, Mr. Pace works as a club and party promoter, which causes him to be around lots of women. This didn't sit right with Ms. Fobbs. Perhaps she felt her lover had the same cheating mentality as her.
It was just me feeling neglected at home.
I do work a lot. I promote clubs and parties, so I am out and I am around a lot of, I would say, women. And she kind of, I guess, takes that as me being unfaithful.
So were there trust issues?
At times.
All it took for the truth about the secret affair between Mr. Randolph and the defendant to come out was a heated argument. You won't believe what Ms. Fobbs angrily yelled at her lover. She told him his best friend could be a potential father to his son. At that time, Prince was 2 years and about 6 months old. Whoa, that defo broke his heart into 1,000 pieces.
That she slept with your best friend?
Well, that's interesting. We were actually in a heated argument at the time that it occurred, but it kind of just got blurted out to me that Mr. Randolph could be a potential father for Prince.
Wait a minute, so you're in a heated argument as a couple?
Mr. Pace was emotionally strong enough to get himself together and have a face-to-face conversation with his friend to hear his side of the story. And after the meeting, both men agreed to do a DNA test to know who Prince's biological father is. How many men could handle this sort of situation the way he did?
When I found out initially, like I said, I was hurt. I felt betrayed by actually both parties at that point, but I wanted to assess the situation, not being upset, because I initially called Mr. Randolph to find out what was going on. I wanted to meet with him face to face to find out what's going on, but I did take a few-hour break as far as...
Mr. Randolph claims he wasn't in the right state of mind when he slept with his best friend's woman. He blames their scandalous intercourse on alcohol intoxication. But how do you drink to the extent of not recognizing your roommate's girl and sleeping with her? Come off it, man. You knew what you were doing.
To answer that, Your Honor, I wasn't in the right state of mind. We both was intoxicated. You know, he was out promoting clubs, and she used to come home from the club intoxicated and, you know, looking for him. He's not there. Me and her talk, and, you know, one night the talk led to...
Mr. Pace forgave his best friend and girlfriend for stabbing him on the back, but you can imagine that the resentment he feels for them remains on the table. The DNA results would determine if the resentment stays on the table or he finally finds a way to let it all go. There's only one way to find out.
Mr. Pace, you are not his father.
My bad, bro.
Oh, man.
So sorry.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
I'm so sorry.
It's not right.
Do you need to sit down, Mr. Pace? Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Ms. Brown appears before Judge Lauren to prove that the defendant, Mr. Rutledge, is her daughter's biological father. However, despite the accuser's denial, the defendant believes that besides him, there are other men who are likely to be the baby's father. Does he have the proof to back up his claims? Let's find out together.
The only thing thing that matters to you today is the future of your 1-year-old daughter, Sanaya.
Yes, Your Honor.
You state you're here to prove the defendant, Mr. Rutledge, is her biological father because she needs 2 parents, yet he's seen her only once in her life.
The accuser claims she is certain that the defendant is her baby's father because they had sex during her window of conception. She says she didn't have sex with anyone else within that period because they were in a relationship. Ms. Brown didn't hide the fact that had sexual relations with other people, but says it was before the conception window. Nice try, but that's not enough to convince the court that he could actually be your child's biological father. Try harder.
Me and Mr. Rutledge, you know, we had sexual relations and things like that. And my doctor told me that I conceived May 25th, which was Memorial Day, which I was over there at his mother's house. She left to go to a cookout and everything, and me and him, you know, had sexual relationships on that day.
Contrary to the accuser's testimony, Mr. Rutledge says they were never in a romantic relationship, but a sexual one. Before anything started between them, she dated one of his cousins, and when they broke up, she had a one-night stand with his other cousin. Whoa, if that's the case, why did you have unprotected sex with her then?
A pretty clear account of her version of the story. Do you agree with that?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Please tell me what your side of the story is.
Well, first of all, me and Ms. Brown was never in a relationship. It was only sexual relationship. I met Ms. Brown.
Don't drop your jaws yet, because he's not done with his testimony. He claims she also slept with his brother and tried to pin the pregnancy on him. Also, he says the accuser requested money for morning after pills from his brother, and when that didn't work out, she decided to try her luck with him. Whoa, what a bizarre situation we've got here.
The powder from him got with my brother. Now, let me tell you this. When she got with my brother, she ran the same story on my brother and told my brother that she was pregnant by him. She tells my brother that, oh, I need you to give me money for a morning after pill.
In her defense, Ms. Brown says none of the things Mr. Rutledge said is true. Come to think of it, morning after pills are free so you don't need money to get them? Who's being truthful and who's telling lies? It's hard to tell right now, but soon we will find out. In her testimony, the accuser continues by stating that herself and the defendant have mutual friends, so he knew everything about her before their relationship started. To back up her claims, she reveals to the court that some of his clothes are still at her place. The funny thing is, Mr. Rutledge couldn't say a word, so perhaps she's right, and he was trying to frame her as a bad person to get the judge on his side.
Yes, I left them out, Your Honor, because they're not facts. First of all, you don't have to pay for a morning after pill because everyone knows that a morning after pill is free whether you have insurance or not. So I never would say, can you pay for a morning after pill? As far as me having...
Presently, it's her word against his, but this young woman is winning the testimony battle. Apparently, they lived together in her apartment as lovers, but one day he went missing for days. While he was away, she saw pictures of him and his daughter's mother on Facebook. So when he came back, they had a heated argument that led to the defendant telling the accuser that she's not his girlfriend.
He knew who I was, he knew how I was, he knew everything before, you know, before we started even messing with each other because we had mutual friends, we were around each other. He had a chance to get to know me and everything. And
even with everything Ms. Brown had testified before the judge, Mr. Rutledge still claims she's not being honest. It's about to be a long day in court. In an attempt to outpace her, the defendant threw a low blow disrespecting the accuser, which is wrong in the court of law. Now we're getting a clearer picture of who is trying to manipulate who.
He would at least text me or call me even if he didn't come over, and like out of nowhere, like for 4 days straight, I didn't hear from him or anything. And he came back out of nowhere, new sneakers, dressed and everything. Now, mind you, in the midst of everything, I went on Facebook and seen pictures of him and his daughter's mother together. So I'm like, okay, so this is where he's at. You know, I'm all upset and everything.
This case is so chaotic, and like everyone in the courtroom, we can't wait to get to the bottom of it. The only way to get to the bottom of this case is by hearing the judge read out the DNA test result. So let's get to it.
When it comes to 1-year-old Sanaya Rutledge Brown, Mr. Rutledge, it has been determined by this court that you are her father.
What? Now what? What I gotta say?
Today's court case will have us look into a sexual scandal that took place over 30 years ago. The accuser, Ms. Harrison, and her sisters have been haunted by rumors of family secrets for over 3 decades. There's a rumor that their father had a live affair with Ms. Rogers' mother, so they took a DNA test to know if they're truly siblings.
Good day. Ms. Harrison, you and your sisters have been haunted by rumors of family secrets for more than 30 years. You say the defendant claims your father had an affair with her mother and therefore is your biological sister.
Yes, Your Honor, that's
Now,
correct.
you've requested results of a siblingship DNA test to prove...
Ms. Harrison begins her testimony by making it known to the court that both of their mothers were best friends. After her father's demise, her mother's sisters confronted Ms. Rogers' mother about her rumored affair with her father, but she denied. Hence, that's why she finds it hard to believe that the defendant is her biological sister.
Well, over the years, her mother has denied the rumors. Her mother denied even having an affair with our father. And her mother and my mother were best friends. And when I was 16 years old, my father died. And her mother was confronted by my mother's sister.
Besides their mother's friendship, these ladies all grew up together from childhood, so their bond should be stronger. But a rumor as dirty as that could break any bond amongst friends, so you can understand where the hate is coming from.
As far as I can remember, we were always in one another's lives. We grew up as cousins, even though we were not blood relatives.
But since your mothers were best friends, you all...
We were all close.
Said you
we
were
spent
cousins.
holidays together. We did different things together. And because my mom and her mom were best friends.
Not intimidated by her alleged half-sister's vocal attacks, the defendant says their father told her she's his daughter when she was 8 years old. At that time, she had broken her arm and had surgery. While she was recovering on the hospital bed, he brought her a pink hippopotamus to aid her recovery. But not for the first time today, Ms. Harrison won't give Ms. Rogers a breather as she gets on her neck again.
Daddy to me when I was 8 years old when I broke my arm, and then when I had my surgery, he also brought me a pink hippopotamus to the hospital for me to get everybody to sign.
Ignoring the accuser's harsh words, the defendant gave another instance that made her believe Mr. Wilridge is her father. When she was 14, just before he passed away, he came to pick her up from school and took her to watch cafeteria in her hometown. Now, why did he try so hard to bond with a child that isn't his when he had kids of his own?
In my
You
life,
had
he
no
was my
father figure.
and
None of you guys had a father figure in your life. He was just
Your
trying to be
Honor,
nice. That
Your
doesn't make
Honor,
him your father.
He told me at the age of 14, he picked me up from school just before he died and took me to Watts Cafeteria in our hometown. And I remember what I ate, I remember what he ate.
At this point, the judge tries to get more clarity on the situation by asking the defendant what she called her alleged father around family and friends, and her response is Uncle Fez. If what she's been saying all day is true, that means Mr. Wilridge had schooled her to keep the truth a secret from the others. Whoa, Uncle Fez was a real playboy.
To himself as daddy.
Yes,
to you. What did you call this man when you were around Miss Harrison and her family? Because
Uncle Fez.
So you called him your uncle.
What I was told to call him when my deceased sister
sleeping with two best friends. Apparently, Ms. Rogers had a private DNA test with Ms. Harrison's deceased sister, and according to the result, they are siblings. Hence, the deceased sister accepted her as a sibling before she passed away. We want to believe her, but it will take more than that to get everyone on her side.
Is,
She is
and
not
I
your
have
sister.
proof right here.
She is not your
I
sister.
have proof right here, Your Honor, how me and her look so much alike.
Looks can
not
you
just
don't even look like
Let me see this evidence.
You don't
Not
even look
just
like her.
looks.
Looks can be deceiving.
So, ladies, I'd like to understand what this piece of evidence represents.
Now here is something bizarre. While they were kids, Ms. Rogers and her sister Glenda saw Mr. Wilridge in bed with their mother through a peephole. However, Ms. Harrison and her sisters still don't believe that's enough to make the defendant their biological sister. Perhaps they want a videotape of the alleged incident.
Their aunt.
We seen them through the peephole in our bedroom.
Who did?
But that still doesn't make him. That still doesn't make him your father.
Hold on. I need to hear this story. Ms. Rogers, who's we and who did you see through a peephole?
At this point, the only way to get clarity on this case is by having Judge Lauren read out the DNA test results out loud. Who do you think the father would be? I promise you, the results will shock you.
Wilridge versus Rogers. Pertaining to whether Ms. Rogers is the biological half-sister of Ms. Harrison, Ms. McMahon, and Ms. Wilridge, it has been determined that you are indeed